Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie, brought to you by Herverse, a community where women who lead, build, and grow come together. This is a space for real, unscripted conversations with bold leaders who are creating impact. No fluff, no filters, just honest insights to help you lead well and live fully. Because at Herverse, we believe leadership isn't meant to be done alone. I am confident you are going to love it. So let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of ConvHERsations with Kristie. I'm Kristie Clayton, and I have the honor and privilege of having Casey Brown with me today. And Casey, we've been friends for a very, very long time, so I know you well, but I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience. And who is Casey and what is Boost?
Thank you. Yeah, Casey is a pricing geek, which I say with great affection. I love pricing. I have a great amount of passion for it, and not necessarily just because I'm an engineer by training and I love numbers and I love spreadsheets, and dollars and cents are fun to play with on a spreadsheet. But for me, why I love pricing is really about the mission and the passion to help businesses, entrepreneurs, women command the prices they deserve. I see so many people that accept less than their worth because of a lot of reasons, fear and a million other things. And I believe if you're excellent at what you do, you ought to be paid like you're excellent. And so for me, pricing is a alignment of value for the value that you create, and it's about justice. And so that's kind of my passion. We at Boost help companies and individuals command the prices they deserve. We offer a series of training products and other solutions to help people do that. But for me, the why is really about staring in the eyes of men and women every day who pour their hearts out for quality and service and excellence. And I can't stand letting that go under rewarded.
I love that. I love that. And I can speak personally to that because you really helped me for a long time realize the value. You know, Casey, it really does feel like right now in the world that we live in today, pricing seems to be a hot topic, right? And, you know, some people are worried about raising prices for different reasons. And so I'd really love to get your input on that. Why is it such a hot topic, and why is it such a sensitive topic right now?
Sure. So I would argue it's always an important topic. At least that's my take. But I agree with you. It's not always in the zeitgeist to the same degree it is right now. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. Certainly coming out of the pandemic, there was a lot of really rapid inflation during that time, both goods and services, both in the B2B markets and the B2C markets. And so we're all years into, at this point, prices going up and up and up. And then you look at what's happened this year with tariffs and the impact that that's had on, again, not only on goods, but also on services that sort of fall downstream, or companies that supply to those companies, or are customers of those companies. So there's a real wide economic impact from some of the policy decisions that you and I have no control over, nor does anybody listening to this podcast. But yet we're trying to figure out how to navigate the environment we're in a way that allows us to be competitive and also profitable. Have the customer say yes to us, but also make sure we're making enough money. And so that's the kind of economic backdrop for it. And then if you kind of bring that down to a individual company level, the cost of everything are higher. If you have a team, they're higher to hire, or more expensive to hire, more expensive to retain, more expensive to insure and train and support. If you buy products or services for your business, those have gotten a lot more expensive. And so I think it's a matter for many businesses of just even of survival. Without a price increase, survival is questionable. For other businesses that maybe have a little bit more wiggle room, it may not be the difference between, surviving as a business and going out of business, but it's the difference between surviving and thriving. And certainly to make the biggest impact that we want to make in the world, to be the most helpful to our customers and those that we serve, we have to have enough resources in our organization to be our best for them. So this is, to me, not just about like a profit grab or putting a pile of money in your bank account. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. If you've earned it, you deliver value. But to me, this isn't just about, making sure we've got a giant pile of money because we want to buy a new boat or something. It's also about having enough dry powder to support our team and those that count on us internally, and our customers and stakeholders that count on us externally. And so for me, this is a really important conversation. I think people are afraid about it. There's a lot of feelings about it, which I know we're going to get into, but it's the time. If you haven't looked at your pricing recently, it's the time. If you have looked at it recently and you're still not happy with where it is, look at it again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think you nailed it too. It is such a sensitive topic right now for so many because of the surviving mode, but also there is this awareness of everybody is the prices are increasing for everybody. And so my customers are also sensitive. My clients or, whoever I'm serving, they are now very aware of how much, prices are changing. And so I also have this feeling of obligation to them that I don't want to, increase the prices so high that they can't afford me. So can you
Sure.
kind of talk to that too?
Sure. There's sort of two things a little bit threaded together there. You went somewhere. I thought you were going to ask a different question. So I'm going to answer a question you didn't ask, but then I want to bring it to the question you did ask. So the idea that it's kind of coming from all sides. And as I mentioned, this isn't just the impacts of the 2025 changes, but we're also years into now some pretty after, a decade plus of 1 or 2% inflation, we've had very high inflation for the past several years. And so people are tired. We're sort of battered around by it as consumers. I mean, my partner and I were talking about, used to go to the grocery store and, buy stuff to make dinner for tonight. And it was $20 and now it's 70, or, it used to be 10 and now it's 40, depending on what kind of food you're putting on the table or how big your family is. But, we're hit by on all sides. And so that creates a weariness, a fatigue, just a like, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to hear about it. And so as sellers, we're so sensitive to what our customers might think, believe, feel when we talk to them about our prices and raising our prices, because we don't want to be one more piece of bad news in their inbox. We want to serve them, but I kind of caution against letting that sensitivity stop you from asking for enough, because of all the reasons we already talked about. You're not going to be here a year from now, or you're not going to be as equipped to serve them well if you aren't making sure you have enough resources inside your organization to do a great job. So the other thing I would say about that, before I get to the heart of your question, is the best time, if we sort of take emotion out of it, which is hard to do, but the best time to raise prices is when everybody else is. You're not sticking out like a sore thumb. You're kind of going along with the tide. And so although customers aren't delighted to hear from you that you're raising your rates, there's a wave, and to be honest with you, they're expecting it. They're not surprised by it. Nobody's surprised when they hear that prices are going up. And so in many ways, the environment is actually conducive to price increase, because you can kind of ride the wave that everyone else is also on.
Yeah. That's a really
Now,
good point though, Casey. And I think it may be one of those things that gets overlooked because of how sensitive I am to the fact that, because you're right. I mean, I go to the grocery store and I mean, everybody is impacted by the cost of groceries, whether it's, just a price increase and you're just aware of it, or if it's something like for families who like, oh gosh, I have to put some things back because, that's just too challenging.
right.
Um,
And then
so you're right. Like everything is increasing right now. I mean,
100%.
groceries, toilet paper, cost of everything, right?
Everything.
Everything.
And then, so now I want to that was sort of a backdrop, but if I tie that a little bit to the question you asked around access and a heart for service, which you clearly have. And I think most, frankly, that are in a professional services field, you have expertise or something valuable to offer your clients, and they're not just buying a widget from you. Nothing wrong with widgets. We have plenty of clients in manufacturing and distribution space. There's a heck of a lot of care and quality and concern that pour into those as well. But when you're selling a service, and particularly when that service is rooted in your personality or your expertise, and you're really helping people, you're really helping their business, their world, there's a lot of maybe empathy that can bleed into, I don't want to charge more. I feel bad for them about this. And I would say that if we kind of always anchor on, this is about service, and if I'm charging enough, I'm able to serve better. That's one thing to keep in mind. And then when it comes to access, I would never tell anyone providing services that they shouldn't make some strategic decisions about where and when to alter the advice I'm giving. In other words, I say charge as high a price as you can for your value. That's not no more, not a penny more. But if your value is a 10, then you should charge like you're a 10, not like you're a 6. But if you have some clients that you serve, or a population of entrepreneurs or consumers or business owners or that you serve that otherwise now have a barrier to access, if you raise your prices past a certain point, you can also have some pro bono spots, or some low bono, they call them low bono slots. I think the key with stuff like that is to be structured with it. So you might say, I have room in my as a strategic decision, one entrepreneur coaching session per month, I'm going to do at the low bono price of 50% of my normal rate. And you could have a little application process for it, or you can, essentially in that way, because people will come and ask for discounts. People will come and ask for free. I just want to pick your brain. They will. And you can say, hey, I have a limited number of spots available for that. I'm booked through October right now. If you'd like to apply for the November spot, here's a simple Google form that you can use to do that. And so there's a couple of things that are accomplished there. One is, if you have a structure for it, you don't end up giving away way more than you intended. And all of a sudden now you're tired and hungry, right? You're working really, really hard, going broke. So you have a structure that keeps boundaries around your giving, which is important, because people in professional services firms are givers first. They're servers first. They want to serve. They want to help. And if we don't create boundaries around it, we can really get ourselves in trouble. The other thing is, then when you're talking to someone who's asking you for help, you can kind of point to the structure. Like, the structure's to blame for why you can't have this for free from me today. Yeah. This is the structure I have. If you want to kind of get in line with this structure, there's a way I can help you. The last thing I want to say, I love with stuff like this, asking people to do a simple form or something, not like, 70 pages of information, but if they're not willing to take 5 minutes to fill out a simple form about why they are looking for this kind of help from me, then I am, feel a lot less guilty, or, less inclined to just say I should do something for less than it's worth. So, you may have a certain, this may be kind of aligned with certain, like, hey, I want to help, women of color in a certain industry, or I want to help people in the creative industry, or or it may not be that specific. You can keep it open, but build a structure around it to keep yourself from just bleeding away all your resources and time and energy.
Yeah, no, I love that, because that is one of the things, like my integrator, my COO will tell you, if it were up to me, I would give everything away. Right. And she's just like,
yeah, you just want to help.
I do. I want to help, but I've also done it at the detriment of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
and those that you serve, ultimately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because there's two things that stand out to me. Number one is, I'm not being an example to them. Right? Like, I'm not setting an example for them that, hey, your value is worth more than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm giving away everything, that's basically, my value is nothing. And so it's really, really important to establish that. And so we did exactly what you said. We put a structure in place. I do have a heart to give back. And listen, there's been so many people that have poured into me that I want to be able to do that when I can, but I did have to limit it. And so I also recognize that there are some women that they just simply, like, getting coaching, getting, involved. Like, it's not in their budget whatsoever for different reasons. But doing what you said, I put a limit on it and said, hey, listen, I'm only going to do, 2 a year, and this is what it's going to look like. And I tend to work with those who are in nonprofits who don't have, really big budgets. Like, those are people, they can apply for it. And that's who I work with in that space. And so, you're right, though, because the first when I first started doing that, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this pro bono. Suddenly everybody was like, pro bono. And my integrator was like, when are we ever going to start charging?
I also want to say yes and help people. Obviously, you kind of heard me share at the beginning, my mission for this is really, this isn't to me just a way to put food on my table. It's that, but it's so much more. And so when somebody wants and needs help, it's hard for me to say no. And one of the ways that's helped me is really trying to figure out how to have an offering or a solution for every price point, including free. So you cannot work with me one-on-one at $0, but we have a lot of free resources. I make a lot of videos. I write a lot of blogs. We have some free tools. Here's some things you can do for $0. For less than $10, you can get the Kindle version of the book. We have some courses less than $500. And so there's kind of if you are a person that struggles to say no, or that is tempted to give things away or to discount it, especially from a kind of a cause related reason, like I really want to help these people and they can't afford it, look at ways you can structure or package what you do in a way that allows you to have a solution for every price point, including something that's free. Exactly. That way you're not saying no, you're saying no to this thing, but here's all these other ways that I can help you that do fit in your budget.
Yeah, I love that. And once we realized that, that's when we were able to really start, plugging in and being able to offer, because there are people that want more, right? Instead of having group sessions or group things, that one-on-one is a great option for them. So having different layers of different things is so important. It is just so incredibly important. Yep. And Kristie, I wanted to make sure that we pointed something out too, when you are talking about services, especially, coaching or something where it's that one-on-one. I think a lot of times what people forget is they think of it as, I'm paying an hourly wage to have a conversation with someone who's going to nurture me, feed me, increase my skill set, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But I think oftentimes the things that people forget about is you're not really truly paying an hourly wage. What you're paying for is the years that person has poured into developing themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Into going to conferences and reading books and the experience that they've had over those years. So how, if that is one of the things that we're taking into consideration, how does that weigh into how we create our price for our service that we're providing?
Yes. You are 100% right. I will tell a story quickly that I tell a lot, and then I'll give some specific advice about how to operationalize this. Yeah. The story is, and I don't know if it's true or not, but there's a parable about Pablo Picasso sitting in a plaza sketching once upon a time. Woman recognized him and asked him if he'd sketch her, and he says he will and dashes off a quick sketch. She sees it and she's amazed, she's fascinated, she's impressed. She asks if he'll sell it to her. He says yes and quotes her price of 5,000 francs. Huge sum of money for that time in history. And she's angry. She says, "Sir, it only took you 5 minutes." And he says, "No, madam, it took me a lifetime." And yeah. I love that story because that is exactly what we're talking about here. They're not paying for your time. They're paying for your brilliance. They're paying for your insights. They're paying for your years of hard-won and hard-fought, honed expertise. And so one of the things, if you are selling services, this is one of the reasons that I am not a big fan of setting pricing by the hour at all. Like, whether it's, $20 an hour or $2,000 an hour or $20,000 an hour, it connotes that what they're buying is an hour of your time, and that is not where the value comes. Yeah. And I have a video, which I could send to you. I don't know if you do show notes or anything like that, but at least it's a video that we have on our YouTube channel, as well as linked to from our homepage, about the 12 things I hate about selling time. There's a lot of reasons not to charge by the hour. But they could, so then it's like, okay, well, how do I sell what I do then? Because what they're, I'm sitting down with them one time per month or one time per week, and it's an hour-long session. How do I talk about this if I'm not talking about this as an hour? And I would encourage people to think about a system, selling a framework, selling a process. And so let's say you're a coach and your process is essentially a 6-month initial engagement, and then people can renew with you for a quarter at a time after that. You have to do at least 6 months because we can't get hard work done in one session. And so here's what this process looks like, and here's what the discovery looks like, and here's how we're going to meet during that time. Here's what I'm doing for you between sessions. Here's how I can support you. And you put the whole thing together like a system, like a process, like a body of work that will be delivered and accomplished over the course of that period of time. And then here's my price tag for that. And I don't care. I mean, I do care how big it is, how big that number is, but depending on where you are in your journey and where, who you're serving and how you help them, that might be, a $5,000 price tag. It might be a $1,000 price tag. It might be a $100,000 price tag. Yep. The price tag is sort of a separate decision rooted in the value of what you're offering. But what I'm advising here is really, how do we represent what they get? And if we tell them they get 6 1-hour coaching sessions and that is $10,000, they're sitting there saying, I'm paying you almost $1,500 an hour. Are you crazy? That's more than I pay my accountant, my attorney, and my, whatever all put together. Well, that's not what they're buying. And so very much of getting pricing right and being paid for value isn't just the number itself, but how we make people feel about it, the context we create around it. And so it's really worth being thoughtful about that. And by the way, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your AI model of choice is great for helping you figure this out. You say, this is what I'm doing. Ask me questions to help me build a proposal that shows this as a framework and a system, not just selling time. And it's really quite good at doing stuff like that.
Yeah, you're spot on too, because so many people do think about it. It's just like I'm buying an hour's worth of coaching, but with I can tell with my packages, like there's so many other things that you receive, and if the only thing that I talk about is that 1 hour that you're going to get with me per month, or twice a month, then that does calculate very differently in people's head. And so making sure they do see the entire picture of what they're getting. And I also think, Casey, sometimes like setting expectations of like, you're not just paying a dollar amount. What is the return that you're going to get? Is making sure they understand the skill sets that's going to be increased, or confidence that's going to be, whatever it is that they're looking to achieve, knowing and understanding whatever pain point that they have that they're trying to overcome, helping them see that this is going to help them with that is really, really important too.
100%. You're really kind of speaking to the difference between value-based pricing and cost plus. Because if you're paying me for X hours, that's a cost plus. But frankly, what does an hour of my time mean to you? Like an hour as a unit of measure in your life is useless. But if you could confidently and masterfully increase your prices and feel comfortable and courageous in front of your customers, communicating and defending that pricing, what is that worth? And so staying focused on the outcomes that they're after and how your work helps them support that, and helping them. And not everyone values the same outcome the same way. So, I would like to get a promotion at work and feel more confident standing up to this guy in my department who's kind of a bully. And can you help me with that executive, coaching? Yes. Okay, great. What would that be worth to you? That same list of outcomes might be worth twice as much to another person. So it's very subjective, which I think increases the difficulty of figuring out how to get this right. But this is why it's so important, not just to talk about what you'll do, but what that means. Because it's never going to be the X hours of coaching or the X resource guides or the X worksheets that sells them. It's the solution to a pain point. It's the achievement of an aspiration. It's connecting with a goal. It's solving a headache. And if you can help them understand how you're the best equipped to do that, price becomes a very secondary consideration.
I love that, because spot on. Like, I could not agree more with you in what you're saying. Pricing is such a sensitive topic, but yet it is also one of the most critical pieces that we have in our businesses. And if we're not confident in what we're providing, the value that we're providing, and pricing it accordingly, then it really can be extremely detrimental to ourselves and to our businesses. So thanks for bringing attention to it. Casey, one thing that I'm always curious about, I know why, I love that you love to help people really help explain their value and make sure that they're charging the right price for their services. But I'm really curious, how did this become such a passion for you?
A little bit on accident is the short answer. It's not like I was, in 7th grade at career day watching the lawyer, the doctor, the painter, the teacher, I did not know pricing was a field. I didn't know that existed. I mentioned before that I'm an engineer by training. So I was an engineer in corporate America when I got into a program that GE was spearheading at that time called Six Sigma. Now, lots of people have heard of it, but at the time it was brand new. And I became an early Six Sigma black belt, which was a rotational program at GE. And so I did rotations in a number of different areas of the business. And I did a rotation in pricing, and I just kind of fell in love with it. I think I had taken an econ class in college, and the demand curve was not new to me. This idea that if you charge more, you sell less. If you charge less, you sell more. This like really simple clinical mathematical relationship between price and volume. And once I got into that role at GE and I was supporting the sales team and I was in the room where negotiations were happening, I saw how different price really was in the real world. It's not simple or straightforward or mathematical. It's emotional and complex and mysterious. I liken pricing to more like a game of poker. Everybody's bluffing, right? I'm looking at the strength of my hand. I'm looking at guessing at the strength of your hand. Everybody's bluffing. Buyers are trying to hide how much they're willing to pay. Sellers are trying to hide how little they're willing to accept. And I got fascinated by how complicated it is. It's rooted in numbers. It's rooted in math, which I love. I'm a spreadsheet nut, but the reality is this complicated and intricate dance of psychology and confidence. And I just got hooked on that. And that's really been what I've been up to for 20 plus years now, is really like trying to understand how one can master that. And if we kind of go back to poker again, the buyers aren't holding a better hand, but we often believe they are. We're sitting there looking at our hand. It doesn't look that strong. They're the ones writing the check or cutting the PO. And we feel like they must be sitting over there on a full house. But I believe if you have excellence to sell, if you sell and serve with excellence, if you have a real strong product or service, if you really help your customers, then you have a strong hand to play. You are not sitting down at that table on, with twos and threes. You got pocket aces, and it's time to have some confidence in that. So it's just been my journey with it, and I've never gotten bored with it. I'm still endlessly fascinated by it. I learn every day. However much I know, there's a infinity more to know, and I love learning. I love helping, and to me, this is, as I said, it's rooted in justice, because letting your excellence sit in somebody else's bank account robs you of resources you could use to make a bigger difference. And so I love it.
Yeah, and that is, so there's two things that came to mind when you were saying that. Number one is, I'm fascinated by the number of people who, you're right, who are sitting in that 7th grade class that are just like, this is exactly what I want to do.
Right.
And they know from such a young age. But then also there's other people who, like, it was a total accident that I like fell in love with this and became obsessed with all of the components of this. Same thing for me, right? Like, I had no idea that, women specifically in leadership was such a passion for me until I accidentally came across something, and then it turned into like this whole business for me. So it's really interesting sometimes to see that. So thank you for sharing that. The other thing that I just wanted to kind of share too is what you were saying. I think one of the beautiful spaces that I see you in is how you really do stand up for people and making sure that they know and understand their value and who they are and what they bring to the table. And I appreciate that so much about you. Because there was a time in my own journey where I was like, Casey, I have zero idea of where to even start with pricing. And in fact, when FEM started, which is now Herverse, but when FEM first started, it was $0 because I did not even see the value that I was bringing to the table. And so you really truly brought me into a place of seeing my own value, and that I do have a contribution to make to the world, and specifically with women in leadership. So I hope you see and know that you are making a huge difference, because I value you so much and what you do.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure to be a tiny part of your journey, because you help so many people in such profound ways. And you are a shining example of what women in leadership look like. And I'm delighted to be your friend and be associated with you professionally. It's been really wonderful to be on that journey with you. And I'll always be in your corner.
Oh, thank you so much, friend. That truly means the world to me. Hey, listen, Casey, if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to know how to get into, your resources that you have, how do they connect with you, friend?
Yeah, I would direct people to places. We're lots of places, but you can find us everywhere from these two places. The first is the Boost Pricing website. So again, that's Boost, kind of like the energy drink, boostpricing.com. There's a resources tab right at the top, and there's tons of stuff there, tons and tons. And you can dive into there and you can get onto our LinkedIn or our YouTube channel from there, all of our free resources, our free tools, etc. And then the second place is LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I put a lot of content there that isn't anywhere else. And so, LinkedIn, you just look up Casey Brown Boost and you will find me, and you can follow or connect with me there. I'm publishing several times a week on LinkedIn. So both of those places are good places to start to dip a toe into. Hey, I think I could be paid better for my value. I want to learn more about this. And then, and I mentioned the book. I wrote a book that came out almost a year ago. And that's also linked to from the resources section. So there's lots of ways to learn about this and get better at this without, calling us up and engaging us. And that's really, for me, about having reach, and the biggest impact is have a lot of free stuff out there so I can help. There's 30 million small businesses in this country. All of them need to raise their prices, and I can't be everywhere. So that's why we have a lot of resources that I like to share.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. And I can tell you the book sits right here beside me, and I think at this point I've read it 3 or 4 times. So it's an incredible book. I appreciate and value it so much.
Oh, Fearless Pricing is the name of the book. I should mention Fearless Pricing.
Yes, Fearless Pricing. It's absolutely fantastic. So you know how I love to end all of our conversations with something that means a lot to me, which is honor, empower, and inspire. So honor is really, truly, thinking of a woman from a past generation who, really, truly just helped guide you or, kind of shape who you are today. And so I'd love to know, who would you like to honor?
My grandmother. Her name is Sue. She's still alive. I'm a very lucky woman to still have my grandmother alive at this point. And she's just an inspirational, amazing, strong woman for a million reasons, but a couple that I'll mention. She's a seeker. So she started doing transcendental meditation over 50 years ago, over 60 years ago at this point. She's a yoga instructor before yoga was cool in this country. She was a yoga instructor up until a couple years ago. She was in her 80s still teaching yoga. She has a essential oils business. She's a woman who, and she was married to my grandfather, who was an abusive husband. She left him and took her kids and supported them all on a secretary's salary. I mean, she's just, her story is full of difficulty, but she has a smile on her face, love for everyone, gives grace, always full of empathy, just an impressively loving woman. And at my finest, I think, at my best, I just think I just hope I can be like my grandmother. I hope I could be half the woman she is.
I love that. I love that. Grandmothers are just a very, very special, and they just mean so much. I hope grandmothers understand the impact that they have on their grandchildren, because they're incredible people.
Yes.
Yeah. What about empower? Who is a woman of a current generation that either you hope to empower or that empowers you to be your most?
Well, both, I think, in the same direction. And that's my integrator and partner, Alex Hayes. She is, we were talking about this a little bit before we hit record, not just a partner in this business, but also a dear, dear friend and a partner in life. And we are really connected to each other's kids and each other's families. And we know what's going on in each other's personal lives, and we really support each other. But one of the ways that she empowers me and is just freeing me up from an energy perspective. She certainly takes plenty of tasks and takes them off my list and gets them done. But to me, not just about the time that creates and the space it creates around the schedule, but also me to really pour my best energy into things that I'm uniquely qualified to do and uniquely strong at. So she's just great for my energy. She's also incredibly positive. Total can-do attitude, total let's conquer the world kind of attitude from a place of love and empathy. And so she's great for my energy. And likewise, I hope to empower her. She's younger than me by a good number of years, but no less accomplished and no less successful. But I think that at Boost, what we're seeking to do, what we're working on now, and some things we've got coming up. I'm really excited for her to lead into where we're headed as an organization. She's got so many great ideas, and it's just fun to give her a platform to do her best work. So that's the answer to that, Alex Hayes.
I love her. And Alex is she's just an amazing person. I love
100%.
Alex.
100%.
And then what about inspire? Who is a woman of a future generation that you hope to inspire?
Well, I'm going to lump a few folks together. I have 9 nieces and 2 daughters. So these 11 young women are my why in terms of thinking about inspiring future generations of women. And I think particularly with my girls, I started this company when they were babies. And I was a single mom, had just gotten divorced, no safety net. It was a bit of a crazy thing to do when I look back at it, but there were plenty of times over the course of owning this business that there were tough choices to be made. I was booked to speak in San Francisco, but it was the ice cream social at school, and I couldn't be at some things. And there were really, there were a lot of advantages of being an entrepreneur as a mother, but there were plenty of difficulties too. And there were some things that I missed, and that was hard on me and it was hard on them. And I remember thinking what got me through those times is just thinking that my girls were going to grow up watching a woman chase her dreams unapologetically, and what a gift that is for them to have that example. And I've stumbled and I've struggled and I've failed plenty for sure, but that's also part of the example. It's like when you stumble and you struggle, you get back up. And so for me, these 9 nieces and 2 daughters, just for them to feel free to chase what they're really excited about in this life and to do it unapologetically and take up space as women in a world that doesn't always give them space. And that's my why there.
I love that. We are flawsome people. Flaws and awesome all at the same time. I think sometimes, Casey, the biggest lessons we learned are from, things that we wish we could have been able to do differently. And
100%.
Yeah. And it's just a beautiful thing when we can share that, openly with those that we love the most. So listen, I knew this was going to be an amazing conversation with Casey. She really, truly is one of the most dearest people in my heart. So if you want to connect with her, please reach out to her in the resources that she gave. And I hope that you do engage, because on LinkedIn, she is extremely active and is a really, really great resource. So Casey, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much, Kristie. It was a delight.
Absolutely. See y'all next week. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of ConvHERsations with Kristie. I hope you're walking away with a few nuggets of inspiration, maybe a new perspective, or just a reminder that you're not alone in your leadership journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, drop us a comment, or tag us with your favorite takeaway. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep building the kind of life and leadership that feels true to you. I'll see you in the next ConvHERsation.